All right, so welcome here. This is our second session on what's now called Together Storying, and we have a website, TogetherStorying.com. We're got yet another new book. Tom said it's a pretty good book, so I recommend you download it for free if you want and check it out. We're going to go over what the program is all about. We'll do a little icebreaker. We'll do something in skill training with Vujade, have another breakout, hopefully, have a wrap up discussion. But first, I want to tell you a little bit of our dreams and plans and do the icebreaker and things of that sort. So I'm going to share that with you now. So, uh, so we're going to go through the 7 levels of storying, which has to do with that idea that was expressed in our sort of coffee clutch before we started taping of dealing with the body, mind, and spirit. So we're going to deal with their emotions, with their thinking, etc. We're going to practice going beneath the masks because often, as I'll try to show you in a little bit, we wear a mask. Sometimes I have my Vietnam veterans masks. That gets me to cut into lines better. More people come up and talk to me. They say, "Oh, you're Vietnam," or they say, "Thank you for your service," or something like that. So I appreciate that. But I want to talk about going beneath some of those masks, and we're going to do Vujade about the auditory, visual, kinesthetic, which you can think of as a sensory, and we'll introduce all that fine stuff. But what I thought would be interesting is if we do a little quiz and let's see, how do I get this to? Yeah, well, I'll go back the other way. Okay, I managed to go up over the top of my own stuff. All right. So, what I'd like you to do is take out a piece of paper and a pencil or some kind of note thing in your computer and just write down numbers 1 to 6. And I'll ask you 6 questions. And those questions, I hope, will give you an idea. There we go. Now I can go back and see the questions. All right. So, what it is to look at is there one true story of your experience in life? If you think it's yes, put a yes. If it's no, put a no on your paper. If you don't know, put a question mark. Second question. Are there many different true stories of your experience in life? In other words, instead of one true story, there could be many true stories, and give that a yes, no, or question mark. Number 3, is there one true story of your life experiences that hangs together across many different times and places? In other words, it's contextual to the times and places in your life. What's your true story? Number 4, are there many stories of your life experience that were true for a time in a place and were then replaced by even truer stories, which eventually gave way to even truer stories? You could call this the Santa Claus effect or something. You believe something true at one time, and then later in life, another thing was true, and then later, another, yet a different true storytelling. Um, Number 5 is about things. Do things tell a story? Yes or no? A hint, we just got back from the Quantum Storytelling Conference in Long Beach, so we were interested in things. Number 6, last question. Is your life experience full of partial stories happening in the middle and not always with a definite beginning or a definite ending? Yes, no, question mark. So let's talk about these a little bit and see what we can see. Uh, Let me pull this up so I can see just about everybody. Uh, Going back. Okay, so let's have some discussion about these questions. Uh, let's see if I can keep my monitor on the same page. So, how many think that there, raise your hands, if there's one true story of your experience in life? There's one story, you're monoistic. There's one story, there are not many stories. Number two, how many people believe there are many true stories of your life instead of one story? So, one, two, three, four more people. Three, is there one true story of your life experience that hangs together across many different times? So, I guess it would have a kind of a theme to it. Sort of Doug is going to like, maybe, maybe, I don't know. And Livy's yes. Are there many stories from your life experience that were true for a time and a place, and then when they were replaced by truer stories and eventually by more truer stories? So, if that's true, raise your hand. So, Grace Ann raised her hand. Okay. And do things tell a story? So, if you pick up a thing from your desk, is there a story to it? And does it tell a story with a certain energy? I mean, how deep do you want to go in that? Number six, is your life experience full of partial stories happening in the middle and not always with a definite beginning, a definite ending? If that's true, say yes. Yes, that's true for me. So, okay. So let's just talk about that in general to each other. And what do you think about these questions? First of all, I'll tell you that I was asked never to write a quiz again in teaching college, and I tried to live with that. So, but hi, Olivia, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I would love to know if you consider some of these questions being mutually exclusive.
No, I don't. I
Okay.
think they're layered, like most things in life. Yeah. So I notice, I know you and Tom believe in gratitude. So you have a true story of your life in gratitude. And I know Rico, the definition of the first principle, true storytelling is that you put your energy and commitment to sustaining something that's true. That's roughly what it means. Let me see who's calling me. That's Sabine. I'm online, Sabine. Okay. All right. So, so I think it's layered, and I do happen to believe that we don't have many beginning, middle, and end stories. That I think that's a fiction from Aristotle, since Aristotle, but it's popular in the movies, Danny.
Yep.
You have that beginning, middle, end, and I know I watch the Christmas movies all the time during the holidays, even after, and I can predict what's going to happen in the middle. I can predict the ending. When they kiss, it's over. You know, in the middle, they get interrupted. They don't quite kiss. They don't quite kiss. They have a fight. Da 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 da. They can resolve it. Kiss at the end. They're done. You know. But in my life, in my investigations of storytelling, I only 8 months of doing transcripts of consulting engagement and um, 3, 4 days a week in hotel rooms and meetings and interviews, etc., events that were held, focus groups. I only had one beginning, middle, end story. That's because people fill in the blanks, fill in code, and all kinds of things. Any other observations about our icebreaker? Maybe I should have made the questions more complicated. I don't know.
Uh,
Paul, please.
my 2 cents. I love the questions. I love the questions because each of them is a challenge for me. I was not able to answer them all in a single knee-jerk instant. I had to think.
I'm known for that, right, Hank? I'm making people think. I love your dog there. That's great. Uh, yeah, I wanted you to think about this, and this comes from the work of William James, 1907. Um, which is kind of a precursor to things we were talking about Tuesday. It's about the idea of some people believe in one story with a beginning, middle, end, and their life is that story. And I think when we're coaching veterans or people who have trauma before they were a veteran or in a family of veterans or just in families in general, they got sexually abused or whatever, they often have like that's my story. I'm stuck in that story. I'm staying in that story. And I'll dare you, you're never going to get me out of that story. So it's stuck in the past with the same emotions, trauma, thoughts, actions that follow from that story. And so I'm going to make a point with that I'm trying to understand where people are at when you first coach them. Some people are ready to leap with Tom and Olivia into love, gratitude, experiencing the joy, peace of life, and they're ready for that. Other people are not ready for that. They are a little bit stuck, and it's our job to help them get maybe unstuck. So let me go back to the event here. Okay, let's see if we, okay. Each time you go back, you have to reset up your whole thing. So, all right. So now when we look at this, and move you out of the way. Okay. So there are several areas that I want to focus on that are in Together Storying, by the way, TogetherStorying.com. I could get that .com and I got it. One is doing ranch coaching. That's where we bring veterans or any members of families of veterans or the whole family, first responders, active duty, etc., free. Come to the ranch here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. We have another ranch we're affiliated with up north by Truth or Consequences, Lake Caballo. And we have horses in both locations. And Grace Ann and I look at the biofeedback mechanism, like we say. And this is not riding a horse like Wounded Warriors. This is more seeing a horse across in their pen, you know, and maybe doing something like currying the horse if they're amenable to that. But I'm going to ask Grace Ann to say a little bit about biofeedback mechanisms of horses and people and why we would want to start there. That's the absolute that's the Cadillac model or Mercedes model, depending on what you're into, because that's expensive. You got to feed them, you got to have vets, you got to have farriers, all kinds of things. But the impact is so amazing of people around horses. Grace Ann, can you speak to that?
So, I would say horses are a biofeedback mechanism because they're herd animals, so they reflect your energy and your feelings and your state of mind. And so it helps people get in touch with where they are. And with the storytelling, David didn't show me those questions before this session. I would have said they're all true because, and that's what the horse thing does too, is that what's important is the stories that people don't realize are governing their own behavior. And so that's what we want to be aware of. What assumptions am I making? What story am I unconsciously following and living out? And by being aware of it, I have more choices then on my life story. And so we work with the horses to get in touch with our own feelings and emotion, what's going on within us, and then to try different options, to see different options and to experiment with behaving differently. So our veterans said, I remember the one guy who said it was like meditation because he realized he had to be calm. If he wasn't calm, if he was nervous, the horse was nervous. So to get anything done, the first step had to be calm and be centered. And so we move on from there.
And I remember Mike Wiggins talking to us about, I think it was Arkansas, where you went to a program. I remember what that was called,
Yeah,
Mike.
yeah, it was Arkansas, and it was the sheepdog program there. And
Yeah.
sheepdog is the name is because the sheepdogs are the guardians of the flock.
I see that as very similar to what we're talking about here is a kind of program where we're not having people go down the rabbit hole, relive their deepest, darkest trauma. I call it the rabbit hole, the very problem saturated account. And instead of reliving it, which I believe you can have people relive it right after a trauma, like within 30 minutes or something. But if you try to do it years later, I believe it reinforces the trauma. So we don't have people go down into the rabbit hole. We are coaches. We are not therapists. I train therapists. Therapists rely on me to teach them about how to do this method, but I prefer coaching about their feelings, thoughts, actions, beliefs, the kind of thing Vujade is into, because I think they can stand over the rabbit hole at a distance from it without going down into it and get amazing impact. And I think that's what was happening in Arkansas and with our program so far is that kind of aspect.
Yeah,
All
I think
right.
there's some aspect of, it's possible that people in that process might go into that rabbit hole, but at their choice, not on the urging of someone else.
Absolutely. And for the method we use, if they go into the rabbit hole, of course, we have to stay there with them, but we're reminding them that come out of the rabbit hole. We want you to distance yourself from the hole, look down from above, like from the moon down to the earth, kind of get a distance on it so you're not reliving the intensity of the feelings and actions and things like that. So that's where we're at. The second thing that's really, I think, similar, well, I'll ask Mike if that's true, um, is we coach the whole family. So we really want to not just bring a veteran in, but their spouse, their mom, dad, brother, sister, aunts, families are very different across America. So we're not talking about even they're married, but they might, the living unit of a family and who they count on as a family, right? So it
Yeah.
might be two grandmothers. You don't know what it is. Say something about that.
Yeah, so it's I completely agree with that. From a historical or evolutionary standpoint, we come from groups which support each other, provide protection for each other, and in recent times it seems like we've gotten away from that. So people are getting more and more isolated, and that isolation seems to create opportunities for bad things to happen. People get stuck in their own kind of negative thought processes, and that can be disruptive if they have a group that they can go back to kind of reground them.
I agree completely, Mike. I believe that one of the things we work toward is to get people in the support group to the equine. So as Grace Ann was talking about, if we can't do that, try to get them online. If we can get them to a retreat, which I'm going to talk about next, where they're there physically, mind, body, spirit, with their family unit, with their unit, whatever that it would be, uh, we have a lot more opportunity of helping the trauma that spreads through the system. So one of my convictions is when people are traumatized before the military, during, after, anywhere in life, it affects their whole system of the relationships that they're in. So I know my dad, World War II and Korea War, his dad, World War One, and I could see now that I got a bigger distance of it, I can see how my grandfather's generation affected my dad's, right? Him not being able to talk about it, him staying stuck his whole life. If I knew what I knew now, I could have helped him, right? And done bigger things with him. And then my dad, and I see me stuck for so many years. And then 30 years ago, I met Grace Ann. We had our anniversary recently, and she helped me climb out of the rabbit hole, get some distance. And Grace Ann, can I say a little bit about that trip we did to Auckland? Let me see if I can see if she's smiling or not. Okay, so we actually met David Epstein, uh, and Epstein and White, not Epstein. I'm thinking of the wrong Epstein. Epstein, let's put it that way, not the same name. And Michael White, they wrote the book on restoring, what we call restoring. It's narrative ends for therapeutic, or narrative means for therapeutic ends. And what their fundamental thing is, always ask permission anywhere you go in the coaching with the person. Like, do I get your permission to go there? And that's something that Olivia and Tom and I learned in Genius Unlocked in our coaching certificates there. Start with permission. The second thing is we give them choice at each step along the way of the restoring. And some of the things that we've been teaching for 30 years began there. And a quick story, Gracie, you want to tell it, or should I, about the little young man from Scandinavia? I think it was Sweden, where it was a lost case, and they were going to psychologists met with the family, said hey, the kid, you put him in a rubber room, separate him. He can't go to school. The school said we can't deal with him. Take him out of school. No special needs. Just take him out. He's climbing on top of kids. He's biting them in the neck. He's biting teachers. Our last resort is David Epstein. And David Epstein flew to Sweden. We saw the videotape of his coaching session. It was amazing. And 15 minutes, he did a turnaround with this kid that was biting teachers. And
45 minutes.
All right. It sounds better than 15, doesn't it?
45.
All right. 45 minutes. All right. We will tell this story together and get it right. So the first thing that he did was just listen actively. And one of the things we do in certification training is teach people to listen. Now, you all think you can listen to somebody's story and understand it, but not the way that David Epstein does it. By the way, David and Michael have both passed away, but they are phenomenal listeners. So he's listening and he's asking permission. Can I talk to you about this? Here's a piece of paper. Here's a crayon, a couple of different colors. Can you draw out for me what's going on? Would that be okay? And the young man, let's say he's about 10, 11 years old. He draws a cactus with all the spines sticking out. In the middle of the cactus, he draws a heart. That's you. Now, from Vujade, we already know he's visual. He's visualizing what's going on with him. He's not even talking about it, right? David asks him, what can you mind if I ask you some questions? What's going on here in this picture? He says, the heart represents my dead sister. My sister died. The cactus represents my protecting her, because I got to protect her memory or she'll disappear from my memory. I'm protecting her memory. So the cactus and the heart have amazing symbolism. And he goes on to ask him, okay, so now he's got a sense of how the child feels, got a sense of the actions, he doesn't even have to ask, is that why you're biting people? Yeah, because his trauma is he thinks he's got to bite parents, psychologists, family members to protect the memory of his sister. That's his story. That's his true storytelling. So he said, okay, can you think of somebody else that you respect that handles this same situation differently? So the young man thinks about, young boy thinks about it and says, yeah, there's a guy from United, the soccer team from England. And I like the way he weaves in and out with the ball and avoids being tackled, and he avoids hurting other people. He seems to really have a good skill for that. Now, one of the things um, Michael White and David Epstein do in their book is they show you the importance of letter writing. He says, would you write that soccer player a letter, and I'm going to send it to him, and we'll see if he can respond to you. Now, he writes, Dear United Black soccer player, I don't remember the man's name, but he was very, very famous. I love the way you weave when you're kicking the ball upfield. You dodge the people who would drag you down. You don't hurt other people. You move around. You go in for the goal. You pass the ball. You receive the ball. He said, I would like to do that in my life. So now he's got a new story of himself as a young boy. You get the picture? And then all that David Epstein does is try to say, well, who could support you in that effort? How could your mom support your dad? How could your teacher support you? How could you let other people know when you're in that cactus mode? And how could you let people know when you're being the soccer player? You know? So that's an example. I've just about moved exactly through the steps of restoring, characterizing himself at his best, the soccer player, right? Externalizing it from the cactus heart, right? But he's able to talk about the cactus heart from a distance, so he's externalized. We already know that there's some payoff there. The payoff was in step 3 that he's protecting the memory of his sister. We know that the consequences are he's biting people, he's disruptive, and he's going to get locked away because nobody knows how to deal with him, psychologists, therapists, etc., parents, teachers. And we know that he's able to reestablish his history, create a new story, have a support group, and the end. That turned it around. They didn't have to lock the kid up. They didn't have to remove him from school. With a few more sessions with not David, but other people in his circle, the kid was back on a track as a smart young man. Any comments about my story? Did I leave anything out, or too much detail, too little? I don't know. Grace Ann, I got it right. Didn't I get it right? I mean, it's mostly right. Was it right at all?
So they said that a year later, the biggest problem the kid had was his parents were concerned he may have started smoking cigarettes.
And the big star soccer player never wrote back, but that wasn't the point. The point was to break him out into a new story and a new way of thinking and feeling about his life, a new soul. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to share with you, is just how powerful that has been since we met him in Auckland. He took us to, I think it was a warehouse, set up a VCR. We watched it together with David Epstein. Um, you know, in Australia, and Michael White was from New Zealand. Later, we went to New Zealand, but never got to meet him. Yeah. So we've been doing that year in, year out for 30 years. All right. So let's talk about the other one.
Question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Simple question. The spelling of Michael White's last name, with an I or a Y?
Oh, with an I, White. I got the book up here somewhere. I'd love to go over it in another session. But yeah. All right. So the third thing is the island retreat. And that was an idea.
David, let me back up just 1 second. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
that reading that book and meeting uh, those people, Epstein and White, and since then we've met therapists who were trained in that method and used it for their careers very successfully, narrative family therapy. Um, and from that, we developed the 7 steps of restoring, applying it to individual and organizational situations.
Yeah, very good. So, so what we're teaching here and what we want to establish in doing the ranch option or a Zoom option, that that can be used for coaching individuals, families, whether they're veterans or not, active duty or not. It can also be used in organizational change and development. So we're not going to cover all that today, thank God. But what we are going to do is focus on the next topic a little bit, which is an idea that Michael Wiggins had with Nancy, that it might be possible to create a retreat, go to Catalina Island. That might be done in conjunction, Rico, with a visit to Long Beach or something. You can go from the Long Beach harbor, take a boat out to Catalina, a couple hours, you're there. I understand. I had a sailboat in the marina. Only took me 7 hours. It was a smaller sailboat, and I had to wait for the wind to come up. But anyway, Catalina Island is very beautiful, and it's when the seas are calm, you're out there in your boat, docked, and you can see down into the water and what's swimming around, and it's quite beautiful. Well, there's you can get a hotel there. You can get a ranch there, not a ranch, but you can get a way to do a retreat. Grace Ann, go ahead.
I think the idea of Catalina, when we did our work with the veterans, so, several times it came out that the veterans came not because of wanting to deal with their problems, but because their family members said, "Oh, this sounds like fun. Let's go play with horses. Let's go do something." So I think that that would be an appeal for the family members, that we can go to Catalina Island. It's beautiful. There has to be something in it for the whole group.
Yeah, but
Unmute, David. David, unmute.
Okay, so obviously it costs money to put up veterans and family members for free. The trip over to Catalina, you know, the paying the hotel, motel thing, retreat center, et cetera, et cetera. So you're talking now. There's no horses there. You can rent a horse, I understand, but I'm probably for this horses wouldn't be part of it. It would be more to get the whole family unit there in a different atmosphere, away from their day to day, and do something intensive for 3 days. When I say intensive, I don't mean like every hour is like we're doing now, work, work, work. I mean taking a walk, you know, sailing a little bit, coming back, having a family discussion with a coach, having one-on-one discussions with different coaches, doing some things together step by step. So over the 3 days, go through the kind of process we talked about with the young man from Sweden. So that was an idea we were kicking around with Michael and Nancy. And I want to know if you want to say anything about it, or you think it would be a good idea, or should we pick a different island? What do you think? Paul, I'm going to ask Nancy and Michael to respond first. Go ahead.
I know Michael wanted to talk about it, but
sure.
yeah.
Go ahead, Nancy.
So it's also a place where people bike, there's nature. There's also big buffalo. I mean, there are all kinds of animals, and it's not horses necessarily, but just being in nature and working with what we have, what we were given, and how how to heal with what's around us and not just be stuck in our minds.
I agree.
Yeah, so I guess, my thinking on this was both kind of two-pronged. One of them is a short-term objective. The other one is more of a long-term objective. And so I like the idea of Catalina for all the reasons everyone has talked about, that it's a natural environment. It's possible to get in a, kind of a secluded space where you can kind of block out the rest of the world for a period of time while talking about things, the things that we're talking about. And so I think that that's, it's really necessary for some of what we're, I guess the therapeutic processes or coaching processes that we're talking about, to remove people from their normal environment. And so that's part of the thought process here. But in terms of the long-term approach, I really like what we did with the sheepdog program in Arkansas, and there's also a program that Boulder Crest has, and a number of other programs. I'm not trying to pit them against each other. I think they all have their pros and cons, but I think that one common feature is getting out of the normal environment that people are in, so that they can take a step back and look at their lives in a way they might not normally look at them. So I think that Catalina, Catalina certainly isn't the only place. There's lots of places where, other places that seem to fit that mold might be something like a music camp, a summer music camp that's not in use at a particular time. And those are all, kind of out of the city environments that can allow people to take a deep breath and reflect.
So I put together in the website, if you click on there from the menu, you can look at the retreat option. I put together some costs and things of that sort for running such a program. So the way we've been doing it, this is only our second meeting, so sorry, we got some donations where people can donate to 501c3 tax-free and get a receipt for their taxes to such a program. Anything to do with the veterans and family or active duty or first responders, et cetera. And that allows us to then subsidize the giving of services for free, and giving coaching certificates for free, because that can help people establish their own entrepreneurship or small business or something if they're doing that sort of thing. Or they can coach within their own understanding of traumas with other veterans, other families, etc. But again, it's coaching. Danny, go ahead. Just have to unmute.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say that I actually have to go to a 7:00 European time presentation, but
That's
I'd love
okay.
to join you guys next time.
I'll
Good
get
to
you a
see you.
copy of the tape, Danny.
Yeah, please do.
And let me take a picture here so I know who's here. All right.
Peace.
Yeah. All right. So let me go on to the next part of the event, which is Doug. And Doug is going to set us up with a little bit of understanding of the several aspects of Vujade. And again, Doug, you might mention that by showing up today, you can get your Vujade thing, right? Take it over, Doug.
Absolutely. Let me just, David had spoken about, especially for vets and for that matter, families, they're stuck in one story. And so Vujade is actually a team and leadership, or a leadership and team collaboration system. And it looks at three different aspects, which I'll describe in a moment. But more importantly, what we're seeing as we work with people, especially people that have had some kinds of traumas, whether that be a military one, a personal one, or organizational, is that Vujade ends up being a catalyst that's, first off, really non-threatening. It doesn't come across with the typical biases you would see that we've all grown up with. And what it does is it allows for an appreciation of granularity, differences. And so it doesn't necessarily try to put people into boxes, which Vujade is based on a survey that that my business partner, Dr. Monty Miller, and I have developed basically over the last 10 years with some algorithms. And we're really happy with the results. We're in beta right now, so you're going to see some of the early stuff from it. But what it does show is if you're familiar with any kind of behavioral tools, this is not a personality assessment, it's a behavioral tool. They typically try to put you in a box. So you may be familiar with things like DISC. That has 4 different types of styles. You have things like Myers-Briggs, which has, almost everyone's done at some point in their life, which has 16 different styles. And while we do have groups, we don't have 16 reports, we have 9.85 trillion individual reports. And so the tool really takes advantage of some algorithms and a way to compare. And it actually plots everybody, so you can actually build teams that have diversity. It helps you understand how to overcome some of the differences you have there. So let me share my screen. I know a number of you already know all this. I'm going to share my screen here. Let me bring up Vujade. I hope you're looking at, this is our landing page for Vujade. Is everyone seeing that, or get a thumbs up from someone? Good. And so Vujade, by the way, is the opposite of deja vu. Deja vu is, of course, you've been to a place, you walk into a place and say, gosh, I've been here before. Vujade is something you see every day. And all of a sudden, you get a deeper meaning of it. And, it's something familiar for you with a fresh view. And so I'll give the pitch right here for anybody who's a veteran and their military families, an annual subscription to Vujade, and it's unlimited in the number of interactions you can have, unlimited in the number of teams you can create, is $171 annually. And for every military vet and their family members, we are happy to do that all free. So, because we really want to help the community move forward. So that's the landing page right there. If I jump into it, and just to describe the constructs, and I'll go through it very quickly. There are 3 different constructs, what we call sensory, which is the outer one here, temperament, which is the middle circle here, and then cognitive, which is the final, the circle that's there, not the donut. And sensory is kinesthetic, visual, auditory, how you like to take in information. And not only what we find with that is we're a combination of all of them. There may be some strong preferences. In my case, I'm actually very close to kinesthetic and visual as my primaries, but very close behind with auditory because we can measure very, very precisely. Actually, we measure down to 56 decimal points for each individual. The middle one, which we won't focus on today, is introvert and extrovert, is how that determines how you interact. And then finally, the middle circle is, do you have more of an outcome orientation, the dreams, goals, or more of a process orientation, the steps? And obviously, we have both. So for today, we're going to focus on the sensory. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And I'm going to just bring up, here's a one-to-one comparison. I'm going to bring up me and David, just to show that comparison right here. So we can quickly jump right in here. And that's David and I with the full circles. And just jump into the pie chart for sensory right here. And we'll talk about that. So if you look at me on the left, and you'll see my acronym, that's my primary areas. I am primary kinesthetic or integrated kinesthetic visual, tertiary auditory. I'm an introvert, and I'm outcome oriented. David is primary kinesthetic, secondary auditory, tertiary visual. He's an extrovert, and he's also outcome oriented. So we share a couple of things right here. We're both kinesthetic. I'm a little bit more visual. If you look at David here, 45%. There's actually a score for him, which is in the more advanced charts. I'm only 36% because I'm integrated visual, 34%. These are close enough to be integrated. You'll see David here is secondary auditory, not too far behind. So that explains a lot of why his career's gone the way it has. And you'll see he's only 18%, where I'm 30% auditory. So I can kind of happily switch between the two. And this isn't about competencies, these are preferences. But we obviously tend to go to the places we like. And what we find with people is when you can interact with them and align with them, they're much more capable of opening up And so that's really our goal here when we look at this across all those different areas. If I pull up a team, just to give you a quick look at this, and I loved listening to Grace Ann earlier, so I'm going to pull her up. She was talking about her career, about working with horses and storytelling. And so this is what we call an effort chart right here. And if I pull myself up here with my details, and primary kinesthetic, secondary visual, those are my I'll just focus on these three scores right here. These are my sensory. When Grace Ann was talking, she talked about storytelling. She has integrated auditory and integrated kinesthetic. So working with horses and storytelling is perfectly aligned with her preferences. So that's just to share, and I've got a number of team members up here. We can actually plot and build a team from this list right here. And so once again, if I bring up myself, let's bring up David and Grace Ann here. So you can see now, you can see there's quite a bit of difference right there. In this case, as I look at this as a cognitive, excuse me, let me just make that a little bit smaller. That's cognitive on the bottom there. Also some left outcome on the right. So, and here we have introvert and extrovert, definitely on the left one. And if we take an example, in fact, let me pull it myself first. Just to give an example, even though I talked about David and I both being outcome oriented, but you can see I'm within the first standard deviation. And David's way, way out here at 2.48 standard deviation. So, anyone that knows David just is going to jump from ideas and ideas and ideas and ideas and ideas and ideas. But if you go with other tools, it would say, well, both outcome oriented. But now that I can see the behaviors in each of these different areas, the first standard deviation, secondary, we've been able to actually map with over 4 years of research. And what we find is that there are even very distinct behaviors in the same area of outcome and across all these constructs. It's the same with our kinesthetic, visual, and auditory. Dave and I are aligned on the kinesthetic. His secondary is his auditory. That's actually my tertiary. You see, I'm right here on the visual, and here's David way out there. So if I'm talking to David, I know he likes charts a little bit. He says, oh, there's nice dots, but he doesn't. It's talking and doing with Dave. That's where it really works well. So that's what it's about. I think David has and I know there's lots of questions around this, but any of you that are vets, I've got a couple of your names here. I'm going to reach out to you and offer you and your families a free annual subscription to Vujade. And we're going to do a little activity here just to focus on why does kinesthetic, those people that like to do things, that those are the types that often show emotions much more, are very much in touch with feeling. And we're all are to different degrees. There's the auditory piece. So not only the words say, but what's not said, what's between the words, and then the visual, which is charts, graphs, things. The example David gave with that young man in Scandinavia was a perfect example of someone who was telling a story, but visually telling that story and combining them. So the more you can adapt and connect to those, especially if you're coaching someone, and if you realize that they're kinesthetic, so let's go for a walk, let's do something like that. If they're auditory, getting them to tell that story, if they're visual, let's draw it. If you can align to that, there's a better connection. And that's what Vujade is all about, connecting better with people. And that's just the sensory. Once again, we have temperament and cognitive to also talk about that alignment. So I'll pause there. I know that's a lot of information, but David has a nice little activity for us. I think I'd rather do that. Back to you, David. I'm going to stop sharing. David, you're still on mute.
That's out of respect to you, Doug. I had to cut off my auditory here. All right. So what we're going to do, if it's okay with you, we'll have 5 groups, 2 people in a group, and it'll give us enough time to say go for 10 minutes maybe. And when you're with that other person, and I'll try to split you out as best I can, I would like you to be aware of the kinesthetic right? So we'll call that the sensory. Like I make sense of things with my five senses, and I'm a kinesthetic. I'm kinesthetic, like I like to do things with my hands, and that helps me understand the world better. And then if you're visual, you're drawing things, yes, but you're also using visual communication terms, metaphors. So you have a visual. So I talk about going to Auckland, going to the warehouse, meeting uh, David Epstein, seeing the video camera, so I'm visually uh, creating the story for you. Then the other thing is the auditory. We're all auditory to some extent, right? We're all speaking uh, terms, but do we use the language terms to paint the story more than giving a sense of the action, right? So it's the kind of words action. And Doug, did you want to amplify something?
Yeah, well, it's just exactly what you're saying there. The easy one that you'll often hear, and once again, it won't be verbatim, but if the kinesthetic people, well, the auditory people, they'll come back with, hey, that sounds right. And you'll just hear it in conversations. This is all based on neurolinguistic programming. The visuals will say, that looks right. And the kinesthetic will say, that feels right. So, I mean, those are the kinds of words you'll even hear from people, because it's harder in a video conference to really get very kinesthetic. Visual can be there, auditory can definitely be there, but those are the kinds of words you'll even hear that give you the clues to their styles. That's it. Thanks, David.
Welcome. And by the way, William James actually pioneered this stuff before the NLP people. So we can go back to 1905, 1907, 1910 to his earlier books. And he's actually quoted by the NLP people. But that's for another topic, for another time. There I go, auditory, just shooting off into another star. So we'll divide into the 5 groups. I'll set them up, take about 10 minutes. And what I'd like you each to do is to talk about the things we've talked about, doing the retreat, doing it somewhere else, doing it online, coming to New Mexico, or, taking Grace Ann to Switzerland or somewhere else. She was going to Oklahoma before they had the tornado or whatever it was. And she goes different places and works with other horses with people, and we've done it that way too. So what I'd like you just to talk to each other, take turns, like each of you take a couple minutes, and then while the person is talking, you are going to be listening. We use the talking stick idea where you pass the talking stick, and when you have this stick, here's my stick, it's a little plug-in, but right, when I'm talking, you listen, and when you're talking, I listen. That's the rule. So while you're listening, I want you to fill in the blanks of the story that they're trying to tell you, like being a very active listener to their story, not tripping off in your own head about, we did this exercise the other day, and most of the people just didn't listen to the other person's story. They just tripped off, well, this is a story I had on a vacation. This is when I went and rode a horse. They just missed the whole point of everything that the person was saying, just about. And so today I want you to focus on the other person's story. You're like, like if you were a coach, you'd be actually listening to the other person's story instead of daydreaming about, oh, I got this appointment, I got to go here, blah, blah, blah. This is happening next to my blah, blah, blah. That's my auditory spiel. So in this one, you write down a V, a K, an A, and you give a check mark every time you think they're doing something visually, with their conversation or what they're tripping off in your head. And kinesthetically, if it's the sensory, the 5 senses, the action, click that, check, 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 check every time that happens. And then the auditory, the visual, kinesthetic. So you should end up with check marks next to VAK. And the denser form of check marks, you'll communicate at the end. So you'll be listening for 2 minutes, talking for 2 minutes, sharing for 2 minutes. I'll try to give you a total of 10 because people get all excited about this exercise and I can't bring them back. So,
So
anything
David,
I need to repeat on that, just create the breakout rooms.
yeah,
Go ahead.
so David, I apologize, but I only had an hour blocked out for this.
Okay,
Maybe
that's okay. I'll make it
maybe
four rooms. All
maybe I
right.
misunderstood.
That's okay. I'll make it 4 rooms.
Okay, so
All right.
I'd rather
So
sign off.
that'll be fine. That'll be fine. Let's see. Exchange with Racine. Let's see, Mike. Exchange with let's see. Okay. Move to 3. Okay, let's see what we got. Yes, that'll work. Yes, that'll work. Yes, that'll work. Yes, that'll work. Okay, the rooms are open. You click on the button and you can select your room, or you can actually just go to a room. So try to find your button. Keep looking around, Rico. It's a little hard when you're on a cell phone to find a button. Hank, you could find a button. Olivia, you know how to find your button. Tom, you've done this before.
Yeah, we just had to get headphones because we're in the same room, but we're good. Thanks.
That's okay. Yeah, I got you in different rooms. Uh, so Hank, you're gonna go and click the button. Hank, you and Olivia are in the same room, so wait for each other. And Tom, can you find your button? You're in there with Doug. Okay, so you're all there. You're all active. And now I set my clock. I know there's a clock here somewhere. No, there it is. And I'm going to pause.
So, David,
I'm just going to wrap it up, and I am recording to let you know that I really appreciate you all. Love, light, and energy to everybody, and thank you for hearing out our ideas and participating in the exercise. I hope you got something out of it. We'll be back again next month, maybe sooner. We'll see. Doug, and there's a third member, Tanya Akins Kane, who's part of us, also Air Force. And we really want to get this off the ground. So if you got ideas, send us an email or something like that. We appreciate you being here. And if you got people that you think can work with us, send them our way. Thank you. Have a good day. And if you want to say something, farewell, you're on tape, but you can say, hey, I liked it, I didn't like it, bring it back again, do more on this, whatever you want to say. It's open. Tom, go for gratitude.
I'm very grateful for this, David. It inspired me to think about how do I use gratitude with the veterans. And it was something I hadn't really given much thought to, but I think there's an opportunity there. So I'm excited about this. Thank you.
Thank you. As we go from level 1 up to level 2, 3, 4, 5 awareness, more and more gratitude comes up, and it's easier when people get out of their place that they're stuck in to get love, get gratitude, peace, all that good stuff. Next, whoever wants to share.
I just really loved it. It was great, great experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is popcorn. Popcorn is mean anybody talks.
Yeah, someone else wanted to go first.
it's you, Rico.
Okay. I just wanted to say that we're all on an elevator that does not have a down button. It only goes up. In closing.
Couple more comments and we'll wrap it up. Hank, we'd be interested in hearing if you thought of all this or one way or another, And Paul?
Well, I just heard about it last month, shortly before Christmas, and so I decided to come today to see what's going on, see what people have to say, and this kind of helps me too because I'm a veteran with major PTSD problems that I never really acknowledged before. So thank you.
Thank
Nice to
you,
see
and
you,
I'd love
Nick.
to do
It's a
some
lot
more
of fun.
coaching. Go, Grace Ann. Go ahead. What you said. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say it's nice to see Hank. It's been a long time. Years.
Yeah, Hank.
Years,
Thank you.
years.
Paul, did you have some outgoing comment? Did we hear from everybody? And then we'll hear from Doug, and we're out of here.
He's on mute.
Sign language. I like sign language. It's very visual. He's trying to unmute his iPhone. You have to go back to the other screen and press it. So press the picture. Anyway, I know what you, I know you like to move the.
I'll jump in while
Go
Paul's
ahead,
trying to
Doug.
unmute. And I'll stop if Paul gets it unmuted here. At least he's got the phone turned so he can actually access it. I understand. I was on a call yesterday trying to figure out how to make it work with it. So there's Paul. There you go.
I got it unmuted. I want to be brief. Haha. I loved it. It was great stuff. It was challenging. So much incoming. It's like I'm in a rainstorm, but it's a really neat rainstorm because there's been a drought far out.
Thanks, you,
Paul.
Go ahead, Doug. Wrap it up, and then we're out.
Hey, I just want to be grateful for all of you that are here and giving us a chance. It's inspiring, I know, for myself and David and Grace Ann to have people come and are interested in this. And if you have any suggestions on how we continue to make this much more useful as sessions, we're always open to that because that's why we're here.